Got the car pushed back in. Gonna start going through the wiring. Yeah, it's a big task. Got to take the battery tray out, put all the grounds in. I'm gonna try to permanently affix the chassis side of the harness. I still have to start making this fit the fuse box. Clean up some of this wiring. That way I'll just splice the wires together loosely. That way I can just be able to see what the ECU is seeing. Show you guys what I'm doing. Up here, first two wires were easy. I know exactly what they were. They were the K-line and the speedo. Easy enough. Find them down here through the engine side that I have in the car. This one goes to W1 on the fuse block, and the gray K-line that goes to a specific like little jumper harness that then goes to the OBD2 port. Keeping everything as factory as possible. I'll be able to plug in VADCOM or an OBD2 scanner, go to emissions, no problem. As you can see down here, G18, G13, and what that refers to is the fuse box itself. This is a good resource, A2 resource. Look down here, what those ones I was just talking about were in the G's. There's G on the fuse block. These all just plug into the back. They all have their very specific numbers, colors, and you can see down here how the pins are offset. So they're all about the same, but they are all offset, so you can't even mess up putting them into the fuse block. It's just a lot more of this. There's some that are merging together, so I'll have to be conscious of that. This is the Mark IV side that goes to the body harness in a Mark IV car. So that's what all this stuff is. It's got your oil pressure, coolant, temp gauge, coil power, grounds, all kinds of stuff. So gotta be conscious of this too. Gotta make sure that goes into that harness. I'll be cutting and extending these to their corresponding things, like right here, the fuel pump trigger, G13, ECU power, G29 or Y speed. It's a lot, but I'm really hoping that by the end of the night I can have this all in place and then pull, tape it to where it needs to be and then pull it out of the car, because I did make it to where it's a complete sub harness. If I ever wreck this car, anything like that, I can just take it out and literally put it into any Mark III or any Mark II that has a CE2 harness. check up top, up here, look at it, you can see that everything up here is pretty much done. Mark IV body harness right here from the engine, which is right there. There were 14 pins in this connector, but I only need 6. So I got the 6 that I need, pulled them out. So I just have to plug this in, see where it's gonna lay, and then get the rest of the body side harness connected into it. Using butt connectors, crimping everything, and using heat shrink. I think that'll all be perfectly fine. A lot better than soldering. Get all these in. As soon as that's all in, I should be able to put the battery in and test the car. I can turn the key on, make sure the fuel pump runs, make sure nothing's smoking, catching fire, you know, that kind of stuff. I can also put VADCOM on it, which is one of the biggest things. If I can put VADCOM on it and read anything, any sort of information it's going to give me, then I know all the wiring is good and correct. After that, then I can just try to crank it. Should be able to crank, no problem. That's all Mark III stuff, so shouldn't be any issue with that. I should be able to go get Alex's ECU tomorrow. Then I can put it in, make sure everything runs. After all the wiring's done, then we can get on to the fun stuff. Making the boost pipes, putting the rad back in, putting the AC back in, recharging the AC. I can finally deal with the shifter inside the car. The little, like a ball and cup in the shifter mechanism, that's bad, so that's why I haven't adjusted the shifter yet. I have to take that out. It's 2 screws. I have the new part over there. Just got to put that back in. It seems like it's, you know, coming to an end, but there's still plenty of work to do. Again, I'm doing all this pretty much on my own. The ECU is really messing me up. As soon as that comes in, or if it ever comes in, I bought that ECU for $230, which is keeping us well below the $1,000 budget. Really low on the budget right now. I'm probably about $600 on this whole swap. Show you guys over here. The ABA was here last week, but put it on Marketplace. Guy came and bought it. He was happy as could be. So that's gone. So that money, you know, instantly gets deducted from this. I only paid $350 for this engine and some wiring and stuff, but I still needed tons of stuff. I'll go over the full cost breakdown, but after selling that engine, selling a few other parts from the old setup, we are well below $1,000. Came in this morning, I pulled the battery tray back out, the chassis side harness. I had these grounds right here that I needed to make, you know, run the right length. So this one's directly to the battery. These ones are fuse box ground, oil pressure sensor. Since the Mark IV only has one oil pressure sensor, I didn't want to cut the whole harness open yet again to try to run one extra wire. So with the Mark III, it's called dynamic oil pressure, where there's one low pressure and one high pressure. When you're at idle, if it sees that you have the right oil pressure, it closes and stays closed, and you never have a problem. And then when you rev it above, I think it's 2200 RPM, if it senses you have enough oil pressure, it closes and it's fine. Second one, the higher oil pressure one, that's the one that I basically just deleted. I just ran it straight to ground. If I see a low oil pressure at idle, I'll know. Easy enough. I'll wrap this stuff up, then I can put the battery in. Alex actually gave me his ECU to try. He gave me a stock ECU as well. So I have this one. You see how professional these ECU people are in the Euro community. Thanks, Euro Customs. When the Sharpie's gone, you have no idea what you got. Real professional. And then I can use that until my ECU either shows up, I get refunded, fuse box is the big thing to look out for. But I think if something was horribly wrong, I think it would have happened by now. Everything looks fine. This is how all Volkswagens look, so don't give me any shit for it. You can see I got the pedal just up here. Just plug her in. Let's do key. We're gonna hope for a check engine light. No check engine light. Something's going on. See if we got a VIN check. Also didn't hear the fuel pump. Have to check a few things out, see what's going on, but looks like it's a ground issue to me. Probably forgot one. Going over everything online, it's a lot of miscommunications. I found out actually that one wire was indeed missing power, that everything I saw online said you don't need the wire. So what it is, I believe it's in the brown plug. There is a thick black wire, pin 3 on the ECU on the chassis side, and that needs switch power. What I did was I used the purple wire right here. I believe it goes to G13 on the CE2 fuse box, and that's a fuel pump trigger. I jumped that wire to that, so as soon as you key on, then it'll send power right to the ECU. So now I'm able to use a diagnostic tool on it. ECU relay that was wired pretty weird, so I just had to change 1 or 2 pins. I changed it to a normal 4-pin style relay. I can actually hear the fuel pump prime. So what I'm going to do is just clean everything off of here, and I'm going to crank it, see if it fires. Gonna try the first start now. Fire extinguisher just in case. The fuel pump relay is clicking a lot, but I don't know if that's shutting the ECU off as well. It's like pulsing it. So yeah, I'm gonna say there's something up with the fuel pump trigger. Try to figure it out, and so lots of things have unraveled. You know, you figure it out and you overcome. What I've found is that originally when I was showing you guys that wire back here that goes to pin 3 on the ECU, well, that wire that just needs to be switched ignition on, so when you turn the key on, turns the ECU on, you can scan it and all. So I jumped that to G1 pin 4. It's the original ignition output pin for, I guess, any Mark III basically. So that is key on, coil's hot. So as soon as that's on, now it's turning on the ECU, which is then turning on the injectors, the coil pack, all that stuff. I'm pretty confident this thing's gonna start. Let's see. All right, guys, here's first start. Might as well get an exhaust clip. I'm still having issues with the dash. Gotta figure that out. Basically what's going on is I have no power to the dash. Plugs are plugged in. Something somewhere is messed up. Really having a hard time with this wiring. It's a big job, but I know I could do it. You know, anybody can do it if you take your time. You get the knowledge, the understanding of how these fuse boxes work, how to read a wiring harness. That's a really big thing, is how to read a wiring harness. I got both wiring harness diagrams because I got two different chassis. I got the Mark IV and the Mark III. Pretty stoked right now that this runs. What I have to do is get that wiring all taped up. I'm having an issue with the pedal. I don't know if the pedal is the issue. Could be. It looks like it's been sitting underwater for years. If I can get the pedal to work, I'll cold start this thing and two-step it. It'll be just fine. Figured out the pedal issue. It's actually a pedal issue. Wiring's all good. I had a used pedal. They're slightly different. This is off of a B5, which is like Passat's S4s, A4s. You can see the difference in just how the pedals are. These are kind of how they would match up. But it looks like I can unbolt the pedal. And I can just take the Mark IV pedal and put it over to the B5 one. Here's the B5 pedal. Here's the Mark IV pedal. Works like a wiper shaft. So if you look, this is actually tapered. So it's larger on this side, whereas where the bolt goes is tighter. So as it goes down, it jams on these splines, and that's what keeps it tight. As a reference point, here's a kind of a mark in the pedal, which I marked that white, and it lines up right here with this part, molding, webbing, whatever. But the reason why I did that is because this one has the same exact point. So now when I take this off, I can line it up to that when I bolt it in place. This is not easy to get off. Take it on over to the vise. What you're gonna do, right in here, you're just gonna hammer something that's like a chisel that's tapered, and this flathead is. You're just gonna whack it on both sides until it just pops off. Look at that, a pretty good catch as well. Now we have the Mark IV pedal. Line it up and bolt her in. So, easy enough. Here we go.
Did you like it?
You like it? Yeah. Come on.